Hey, welcome back to Tuesday afternoon.
Hi everybody, it's Tuesday and welcome back. And today we're making Huggy Wuggy from Poppy's Playtime. I decided to do what I think is his most iconic pose, and later on, if you guys want, I can make something a little bit more creepy. We're going to start out with a foil core, and you want to shape it like a heart shape. I'm going to pack it really tight, and I'm going to make sure it's not very thick. We're going to cover this with the original Sculpey, and I went ahead and put a piece of paper down because I didn't want it to rub off the foil onto my working surface. I plan on later making a plushie of Huggy Wuggy. Let me know if you would like to see that. After you cover the foil with original Sculptor, you're going to want to put a hole in the bottom so the head is able to rotate. I'm going to add a little bit of hair texture onto the clay, adding bits of clay on because I want little strands of his hair to stick out. If you want, you don't have to later on cover this in mohair or synthetic hair. You can just have it textured, and that's why I'm showing it here. And also it looks very good underneath the hair that I'm going to add later. I'm using a variety of methods to add texture because I want different weights to the hair, and I'm going to add it thicker in areas so it actually has a realistic texture. Here I'm just rolling out some eyes, very simple, and then we're going to roll out a long piece of clay and then fold it over, and where you fold it over and it's connected, you're just going to smooth that out. If you want, you can use a tiny bit of rubbing alcohol on your finger just to make sure it's smooth, and use a tool to get those edges nice where he has his lip area. Okay, looks good. I'm going to go ahead and bake that in the oven, and this is what it looks like. Just follow the directions on the back of the packaging. Next, we're going to cut the wire for the torso. Always wear eye protection when you're cutting wire or working with wire. You don't want to accidentally hit yourself in the eye or something to fly up and hit you in the eye. Here, I'm just going to gauge the size by taking the head and measuring. Easiest way to do it. You can see from the character model kind of the comparison of the head to the torso. Once I get the torso the correct size, I'm going to start covering it with original Sculpey. I'm going to put the head on and see the area that is gapping on the shoulders, and I'm going to make sure that they match up so his neck matches to his torso, so he looks like the character in the game. Also, I noticed he had a little bit of a belly, so I'm going to add that. Okay, so after we have this completed, we're going to move on to the wiring of his legs. And I'm going to use a heavier gauge wire for his legs because it's going to have to support the weight. Remember to wear your glasses because this could easily, while you're cutting it, pop up into your face. When you're putting the holes into the bottom of the torso where his legs go, you're going to make sure that you have enough space for the gap. His legs are very far apart, so make sure you have that gap. After I cut the wire, I'm going to wipe it down, and I'm also going to wipe the surface. Usually a wire has a residue on it, and you don't want that getting in your clay. I cover the wire with aluminum foil and then cover that in original Sculpey, just making sure it's pretty even and smooth. I'm going to attach it to the torso, I'm going to smooth it out, and I'm going to add a bead of clay if it is needed. After this, I'm going to start adding a little bit of texture. If you want, you don't have to add the mohair like I said, but keep in mind that if you're not going to do that, you're going to want to add a little bit more clay to have that full effect of hair. I'm just adding strips of clay on so they kind of go over where his feet are going to be, and I want a layered effect. So I'm just going to keep on adding beads of clay and then pulling out his hair. Next, we're going to do his arms, and it's a similar method to how we made the legs. And we're going to roll the clay over the foil like we did with the leg, and we're going to add on texture. After we've done a little bit of the inner part of the texture of the arm, I'm going to work on the hair near the hand. Just pulling out pieces of clay onto my finger and then pulling it away so I get little separate strands like hair. You're going to want to attach the arms, and then you're going to want to bake this in the oven. You're going to want to put some parchment paper down on your pan and make sure he fits entirely on the pan, because if you don't, he could possibly warp. Here we're going to make his mittens next. These are basic mitten shapes, and then we're going to add the little square on to the mitten hand so he looks like the character model. And I'm just cleaning the edges up so it has nice sharp edges. There should be a little bit of wire that extends off of the arm, and you're going to attach the hand where that wire is. Next, we're going to make the feet, and I'm just going to press his foot down into some clay and see exactly where the hole is going to be. This will also make an impression in the foot, and it will make it so it fits together really tight when I bake it in the oven. Here I'm adding some extra layers of hair so it extends over the top of his foot. I want some of the hair to hang down in little tiny strands to kind of go down onto the foot so it looks like individual hairs. I'm also going to use my tool and blend out the extra layers of clay into the already baked clay. I like rolling the clay out and then pulling the clay to give it kind of this textured effect like fur or hair. And I'm just going to keep on adding layers on. And once I'm happy with that, I'm going to go ahead and bake that in the oven. We can start to paint it after it's done baking. I'm just going to use blue acrylic paint, and I'm going to cover it in probably about 4 layers of blue just so it has an even layer of paint. I'm going to go ahead and do the mouth and the eye paint. I recommend painting the eye white because you want his eyes very striking. So don't leave it the raw Sculpey. Go ahead and put that white paint on. I went ahead and did just a basic yellow paint, and I was very careful when adding the yellow so it wouldn't go onto any of the strands of blue. If it does, just touch it up. If you like my content, please like and subscribe. Please let me know what you would like to see next. I was thinking about also doing Poppy. I'm kind of excited about it. I really love her eyes and how they're very realistic and like a human, and I would love to do all that veining. So let me know if you would like to see that. After we're done with the painting, we're gonna go ahead and add some nice detailing with chalk pastel. You can find this at a hobby store, or even Walmart will have some brand of chalk pastel. We're going to shave that off onto a dish. I'll show the colors I used, and then we're going to use a brush and apply it. It gives you this really nice effect. You can also achieve this with an airbrush, but if you don't want to learn how to airbrush, or you just like this effect, go ahead and do it this way. This is the way I prefer to do it, and it adds kind of this creepy matte effect, and I really like that. I'm just going to go around the edges of the hair on the feet and add a kind of orange shade and also a black shade onto those areas. And then I'm going to add black onto the lip area and around the eye. After I'm done adding the chalk pastel, I'm going to seal it with some finish. I recommend this brand. It doesn't become sticky, and you're going to want to put on several layers onto those areas, especially those areas that you want a glass finish. So just keep on adding them after each layer dries. I'm going to make a simple key. I'm just going to use supplies that are readily available around the house, and after I cut out the pieces of cardboard, I'm just going to use some super glue and glue them together. I'm going to cover that with a gold acrylic paint after I'm done assembling it. And there you go. I'm going to glue that onto his hand after it's all finished. Don't forget to add his ribbon around his neck. And I didn't like it that it was just kind of tied around there, so I'm going to glue it into place. And then I'm going to touch up the paint in the areas if any of the paint comes off while I'm gluing it. And I went ahead and added a layer of paint over the ribbon so it's really stiff like it appears in the game. This is going to be really great when I do the mohair. It's not going to be moving around, and I can kind of add it in around it. And since I already sculpted the hair, I'm not going to have to add a whole bunch of mohair. Now I'm going to add Sobo glue over the top. I'm going to smooth it out, and then I'm going to take mohair and just kind of smooth it over the Sobo glue. I found that my mohair that I got wasn't really the right shade, so I'm just going to add a little bit of acrylic paint over it after the Sobo glue has dried, and just keep on adding layers. And then after you're all done, you're going to want to let that dry. I let it dry overnight. But when it's all dry, it's going to be very stiff. You can go ahead and trim it, make it look good. So, there you go. What do you think? Are you going to make it? Let me know below, and if you want to see me make a plush one or a very scary one where he's running after you in the game. I did make a head that was this kind of scarier version, but it didn't really fit the pose, so I didn't include it. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, please let me know below. I really appreciate your support. Thank you so much. Bye.